Hi, this is the VU Gallery virtual space where we talk about art, where we show art in the virtual space. I'm Ruth, the gallery director, and I am joined here today with Rowan Kingsbury. Rowan, you just recently graduated from PNCA. How was that?
Feels weird, but I did it.
Yeah.
This is interesting. I'm glad to be done at school for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. What have you been doing like recently? I know you just finished your senior thesis.
I did. I finished making my little graphic novel pitch book of sorts. Not fully finished, but I'm going to be pitching that to publishers is the plan. But since I graduated, I've been taking like a break for the most part, went home for the holidays. I'm kind of doing personal art at the moment just to like find the groove because we're launching the professional career, one could say, although I've already been doing stuff, but now that I don't have school to distract me, gotta focus.
Yeah. We're pushing into like the professional career.
Yes.
You're not a professional student, you're a professional.
Exactly. There's nothing else. It's just professional.
So what's involved in like proposing or presenting your work to publishers like that?
I basically have to put together a queer letter of sorts. I'm going to try to get an agent first is the plan, a literary agent. And basically I show them the book that I worked on for my thesis and give them like a pitch, like you would pitch a movie. And if they like it and they want to work with me, then they will help me pitch to their like connections and publishers that they know. Because I'm not sure I want to do all the contracts and stuff on my own for book publishing specifically, because it gets complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to write up a little summary and make it all look nice, make a little PDF, choose people to send it to and whatnot. That's
and
the
you
next step.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's the next step.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about like what kind of work you do. I know you're a children's book illustrator. Do you also write the books as well?
I wrote my thesis. I still feel a bit like a baby author. I haven't done a lot of like serious writing because I've always been too busy drawing. But illustration is storytelling through images, so I'm kind of just finding my like voice in telling the stories with words as well, because I also like to make picture books and graphic novels and comics and stuff. I've done a couple adaptation like book dummies is what it's called when it's not like a completed book. It's got like rough sketches to help me get the feel for it. But after writing my thesis, I think I'm probably going to do more writing. So I do both.
Cool. So like professionally, do you have any like big goals that you definitely want to do?
Yeah, I get published is like my number one right now. Would love to just see a book I did on the shelves, even if I just illustrated it like on the shelf. But I also really like working on book covers. I've done one book cover for Random House and I really liked the process. So I'm hoping to do more of those because it's very fun to get to read the whole book and then draw basically fan art for the front of the book. It was really fun. And other than that, I'm focusing on like personal art that can be put in galleries like this or my own sort of like store online art presence stuff because I want to just have fun sharing my process and whatnot.
Yeah. So for your show in like the virtual VU gallery, there is a selection of your work. But right now I want to share kind of your website and your kind of portfolio. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. I'm going to share my screen now so that we can look at it together. So yeah, this is what you do. Do you want to like kind of describe what you do?
Yeah, I mean, Wonder Warmth Whimsy, the name of the show is kind of my little tagline for what I do because I think it sums it up. I like to tell just like heartfelt stories and cute imagery. A lot of the time it's very uplifting stuff. I'm really interested in plants and like botany specifically, and magic and little things in particular, as a lot of my stuff kind of is about little fairies and little people interacting with big objects, because I don't know, I feel like it makes you look at the world in a more fun way to like
Sure.
objects like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what I do. I'm just trying to capture the fun stuff.
Yeah. And you do it really well. I've always liked seeing your stuff.
Thank you.
I'm very familiar with what you do. But yeah, so do you like, what kind of research do you do, if any at all, or is it all from your head?
I think my research, I'm not a very like, I'm going to read articles and papers on stuff kind of person, but my research is kind of just living my life, if that makes sense. I'm the sort of person who, if I'm going to sit down to draw, it's like, what have I been interested in lately? What am I excited about? What did I see on my walk today? Like, going on walks is probably my biggest form of research, just like looking around, and also reading and like consuming media and stuff, because other artists are a big influence on what I'm doing. But I keep lists and a Pinterest boards of like just whatever I've seen that made me like spark that little like, ooh, that looks fun.
Gotcha. So
Keep them
there's
all
no,
on a pile.
yeah, more like inspiration than like research.
Yeah, unless it's something I don't know about, then I'll look it up, because you gotta sometimes, but it's not my favorite part of the process when I have to like get all logical about it.
Gotcha. Yeah,
I'll look up references. I'll research that.
that's fair.
Yeah.
So you mentioned other artists. Are there any particular artists that you are influenced or particularly inspired by?
Yes, I wrote a list so I wouldn't forget, because I'm always bad at remembering specific things. But Furry Little Peach is a big inspiration for me. Sean Dantes, I think it's a fancy French last name. She does really cool work. She's from Australia, and she does a lot of vlogs of her process, but she does a similar, like, just really fun art and just enjoying making fun, cute, pretty things. So I love to watch her work. And I also really like Rebecca Green, who does a lot of gouache paintings and picture books. And Lois von Barrel, who has been like since I was on the internet, like DeviantArt. I was like, wow.
Me too. I feel that.
She draws such cool characters. I always just, the way she paints has been big inspiration, and her career since I was a kid. I was like, I want to do what she's doing. So those are like the three, but then I also have Katie O'Neill, who did some graphic novels that I really like and is a big inspiration. The Tea Dragon Society.
Oh yeah.
I love that. That felt like it was made for me. And then non-artist Mary Oliver, who's a poet, I have to mention. I really, really like her poetry, and I think it's a big influence on just like my mindset for what I'm doing. But those are the big names, other than like, movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like
I love Hayao.
What?
I love Hayao Miyazaki.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just last night I was writing something and I needed some background noise, and I looked up on HBO the like nature loop thing, where like they have different scenes of like different Ghibli movies, and they just play different like nature clips on a loop.
Oh yeah,
that was great. Love that.
I love that. I love every time a movie like that just clips to just a random nature scene for no reason. I'm just like, wow.
No, it's great. I love it. I love that they include that. But yeah, so sorry, looking over the questions again. What do you have anything that you particularly like or dislike about your work? Is there things that you think that you can improve on, or things that you, I don't know, really, really enjoy looking at even now?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with where my work's at right now. Like, there's obviously every day is another like thing I notice where I can fix it and make it better. And that's like the challenge. It would be boring otherwise. But I really enjoy how I feel like it reflects exactly who I am at this point. Like the stuff I make, I look at it and I'm like, yep, a good summary of my whole brain space most of the time. But I've got my goals to make more just different varieties of stuff and always practicing the fundamentals because there's always room to improve and more different lighting scenarios to capture and getting better at drawing more people interacting. I just
Yeah.
exciting. You're always learning with art.
So what what else would you like to do, either like in your art or in your career or just kind of in general?
I want to do, I mean, the book covers and the picture books. I want to try all sorts of stuff. I like that an art career is so go with the flow. Like it could change at any moment to like some other project I would never have thought of. But I want to do artist residencies once COVID is cooled off a little bit. I would love to like travel and do art in other places with other artists, like the Light Gray Art Lab residencies I've always really wanted to do, where they go to Iceland and stuff. Yeah, that's my art goals focused is just enjoy the process, make some books. I also like cooking. If it doesn't work out, I'm either going to be a chef or work at a bookstore.
Well, there you go. You have a backup plan.
Exactly.
So what other kind of, is it just the one residency that you're looking at, or are there other ones that you want to do?
I haven't done a lot of super solid research given that travel is not super recommended right now,
Right.
but Light Gray Art Lab's been the one I've always been focused on. They have a lot of options, like Iceland, and I think they do Japan. But I feel like there's so many different residencies out there to try and like find. And just the concept of getting to go live in like some other place where people are just solely doing art sounds so fun.
Yeah, for a while, I was looking at residencies because I have done art in the past. I wouldn't call myself an artist, but residencies did come up at some point. And it was so scary for me. The idea of just like being there solely dedicated to just like the creation of art. And
It's a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, like it sounds both like a dream and also a nightmare, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope it's more of a dream than the scary part. Yeah.
I would like to do it.
Yeah. Where would you like ideal place? Where do you want to go in the world if you have like any kind of option for a residency?
I've always really wanted to go to Paris. I'm a big like baking and like croissants and Paris confectionaries or French confectionaries. And then Japan really bad, like Kyoto or something. Or I think Rebecca Green was in Osaka, and I really like because she used to like live in Japan. She's one of my inspirations who's got to do some of that kind of stuff. Or Iceland, as I said, because they've got a lot of like fairy folklore that I'd be really interested in learning about. Or Ireland. I want to travel. I almost went to Ireland for a study abroad before 2020. It was going to be that summer, and I want to make up for that because I love Ireland. My name's Irish. I just want to see. I feel like I should go there at some point.
I wish traveling, even outside of COVID times, I wish it was more accessible because like I want to go everywhere.
Oh my gosh. I guess other places in America at some point too, but like,
oh my God, yeah, I've only been on like the West Coast.
I haven't been to like Maine or the East Coast yet. I would love to go to Maine as well because all this, like a lot of the stuff I consume is about like East Coast nature stuff, and I'm like, man, I gotta see what's going on over there.
I know. So looking through, what have we asked so far?
All sorts of stuff.
All sorts of stuff. We've just been talking. We've been chatting. So I don't know if you wanted to kind of describe how you work, like your process. Sorry. Like in creation, like where do you start? Is there kind of any hiccups that you find?
Yeah, my process, I mean, it changes with the project, but broad strokes are like the gathering the inspiration is step one, walking around, putting stuff in Pinterest boards, taking pictures. And then if I have like the nugget of an idea or an assignment of some sort, make a Pinterest board for that specifically, unless it's like a doodle. But if it's like serious business, we're making something, I'll probably make a Pinterest board full of reference images so that I have like real life things to look at, and then like the vibes images. And once I've got that, we do thumbnails. Like I was taught in art school to push past like the first 5 or 10 of them. Depends on how confident I am in the idea, but like a page of thumbnails is like a good start to make sure you're not just doing the most obvious idea, is what I was taught. And then choose one, do the sketches, do the lines, and the color and painting, which is all kind of the same thing for me because I don't like depending on line art too much, so everything kind of gets mismatched up. Sometimes I do shapes before I even do final line art, and then I do line art on top. But in that, once you start executing it, there is always like there's always like a dip in like the middle part where you're like, oh no, it's just shapes. Oh God, this is terrible. And then you push through. As I've heard a lot of other artists say that about their processes, but it is a repeated fun little thing.
Yeah. I think that applies. Sorry, go ahead.
Just in the lost in the trenches during the process, but then you get out.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think that applies to like so many different things.
Yeah.
Like there's just life in general. You just kind of gotta push through.
You gotta ride the wave.
Yeah.
But it's important. I guess it's just important to finish what you start, which is sometimes tricky. I usually do. I got through my whole thesis project.
You did. Congratulations.
That last month, I was like, oh,
yeah.
I don't want to draw these little people anymore. And then I finished it and I was like, wow.
You did it though. It's great.
Yes.
So you mentioned obviously your thesis work, all of your like the art that you do, you have products online like pins and stickers and stuff. You mentioned that you like to bake. What other kinds of like mediums or art practices have you experimented with? Is there anything that you would like to do?
I've done so many. I was making a list of those and I was like, oh no, I've done every single one. I did a bunch of ceramics this semester that I really enjoyed. I really want to make that like more of a part of my art practice because you can sell them and they're a good translation of like illustration into objects. I also did printmaking this semester, which was really fun because I do a lot of digital art, so it was nice to get hands-on printmaking stuff. But I've done animation in high school and a little bit since then, so I know how to do that vaguely. And crochet and knitting and sewing and embroidery, all things I want to like use to translate the like illustration core into like other things that I can share with the world, because I like having the physical objects of what you've made a lot. I'm always dabbling in all sorts of stuff. It's good. It lets you switch from just drawing to like something else sometimes when you need a break.
It is very fun to kind of switch it up, find something else to do, even if it is still part of your practice.
Yeah, I feel like every creative thing I do becomes a part of my practice. It's hard to separate any hobbies, but that's the way it is.
It is the way it is. It do be like that sometimes. I'm curious. I've seen some of your ceramic stuff that you've done. They usually are like little kind of images or sections of like your bigger works. I'm curious, have you ever thought about doing like more of like a sculptural piece or like an installation piece that includes both 2D and 3D art, or is that just like completely off the table?
It could be cool. I've never been one to think of like installations much. It just seems I work so like small a lot of the time. I like to make such itty bitty things. It would be cool to do like if I ever did a gallery show where I was just like in control of the space and just go crazy with like little creatures all over the place with the art and like murals on the wall. Like I'm sure I could think of something because I make like little, I wish I had a little guy within reach. Do I? Oh, I'll just hide these all over the whole studio. My
Oh
little,
my gosh.
it's so sunny. Little cat.
I love them. Oh my goodness.
One of my little guys. But yeah, it would be a cool thing. People say that my ceramic stuff looks a lot like my illustrations, so I think they could blend together in a really cool way if I got the opportunity to like just put them all in the same place. That would be cool.
Yeah. If, you know, if times were different, if we weren't where we are right now in life, I would say that would be really cool to have in like the VU gallery. But I mean,
maybe in the future.
In the future, hopefully. I do hope you get the opportunity because that would be awesome. And I would love to go to that show. That would be
Thank
so
you.
cool to see.
Yeah, I never thought myself as much of like a person who would show a lot in galleries, but I really like any gallery that takes on illustration instead of fine art, like they take on more of that. I love that kind of stuff. Like I like fine art too, but like there's like the Nucleus Portland is in Portland and they have a really cool, like they do a lot of illustration stuff.
Yeah, no, that's something that I've been trying to do with the VU gallery is include more illustration and 2D work because Western has an illustration program and I feel like it's so underrepresented in gallery places. And I love Nucleus. I love Nucleus so much. Everything. Oh my God. I have not been able to like actually go, but I follow them on Instagram like religiously. Everything they post, everything they do. Like I want to be a part of it so bad.
It's a bunch of my favorite artists all the time. I got to put some coasters in their coaster show this year and I was like, oh my God. I was next to people who like I have been following for so long. My teachers.
So cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, I fully support making more illustrations in galleries because I think illustrations should be recognized as fine art more than it is a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Though it's so functional a lot of the time. It's also just pretty.
Yeah. It's kind of funny though, because it's been around, I mean, as long as like paper's been around, like everything's
illustrated.
Yeah.
But we're the foundation of like why things are pretty is people drawing illustrations for every little thing we make.
Yeah, but I feel like it's such like a tiny part, at least nowadays, of what art is. And I feel like people don't think about illustration as I don't know, more fine art, like what you said. I don't know. It's kind of sad, I think. I feel like it deserves more limelight.
Yeah, that's why I love when people collect a bunch of illustration and put it in a gallery, even though it wasn't made for that purpose. Like Alphonse Mucha, that's one of my other big illustration inspirations, but like his posters were made for just like wheat pasting to walls to advertise theater stuff, but then now they're in like whole gallery shows. I've been to one in England and I was like, oh my God. That's not what they were meant for originally, but they look good in galleries.
I mean, you can put anything in a gallery. That's what I love about galleries and museums and art like showcase spaces so much is like you can put anything in it. Like everything belongs in a gallery and a museum. Yes. I think I don't know. I am so in love with museums and galleries, both like separately and together. I think they're so important. And I love that we can kind of put stuff in there that maybe don't belong, but they absolutely belong. Everything belongs.
Yeah.
So speaking of galleries and people and responses to your work, has there been anything that like really stood out to you as far as responses? Anything that, I don't know, any kind of memorable responses?
I mean, I've been on social media for so long. My responses that I get are mostly like little tidbits, but they're very meaningful to me. Just whenever anybody says that, like how you said, like you followed me for so long. Like when people are like, I've been following you since you drew like random fan art when you were like 12 on Tumblr, and I'm like, oh, you're still here? Goodness, I don't even draw like that anymore. Thank you. Or when they're like, you look exactly like your work, and I'm like, that is such a sweet thing to say. People are so nice. I love to just read tags on things that I draw. or like the little messages people send me, and I'm just like, wow, somebody saw it.
Yeah, that's something I really enjoy about, again, like internet spaces. That's so, the level of communication between like artist and viewer is so, it's so good. I love it so
So cool.
much. There's so
I'm
much
excited to
interaction.
spend more time talking to my followers now that I'm not like a college student who's so busy, because they deserve more attention than I give them.
I mean, you do you. I just, yeah, I love the communication. I love the interaction there.
Media, it's a
Yeah,
great thing and also a curse, but also a great thing. Addictive.
it is a double-edged sword. Is one edge bigger than the other one? Still debated.
I wouldn't be here without it. So
Yeah.
Go social media.
All right. So I kind of want to pivot back to your work specifically, and we're going kind of off script now. I hope that's okay.
That's fine. I can do it.
Cool. But yeah, so most of your work, you mentioned fairies, flowers, little people, like very whimsical things. Did you kind of grow up with a lot of like fairy tales? Is this like childhood memory, or is it more everything you're interested in now? Have you always been interested in fairies and stuff?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I talked about this a lot in my thesis speech actually, because I had to think about it so hard when I was doing my thesis project. Like all of my childhood inspirations and stuff went into it. But fairies and botany have been a big thing. Like magic stuff has been a big thing since as long as I can remember. One of my favorite books when I was a kid was Circle of Cats by Charles DeLint and Charles Vess, which is about a girl who like goes into the forest and gets turned into a cat because she gets bit by a poisonous snake. But it's like the cats are magic, and then she sees fairies and all the creatures in the world are talking to her because she's like a cat now, and there's like a lot of nature magic themes, and that was influential, as well as the Flower Fairy series by Cicely Mary Barker. Did I say that right? Yeah. Which is just a series of like little fairies based off flowers with a little poem for each one. We had the Tiny Books series when we were kids that was just like 4 inches or less, like super tiny, like flower themed. Those were my favorite thing in the world to just look at and decide which one looked the most like me. But you know, we made little fairy houses in our yard and at the park. Fairy related, I love Tinkerbell. That's definitely one of my like lifelong interests, is fairies and magic and fantasy of any sort.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually just recently watched all of the Tinkerbell movies.
Love them.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty
I should
good.
rewatch them. It's been a little while. I've always loved her. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never made like fairy houses. Sorry, I was thinking of one of the movies. They make a fairy house and she like gets trapped in the fairy house. I've never done that. That's so funny because I know so many people who do that, like, or have done that in their childhood. And it's like I never even thought to do that when I was a kid, even though I was also pretty obsessed with like magic and everything.
Yeah, we I don't know if I actively like built like architecture, but we would always stick like bark chips into old logs to make like little shelves for them and like put little flowers into the little old log. Like there was one specific log at the park by my house that we would make into a little thing. And then, you know, you could leave a flower or like a berry as offerings to them on places that you like arbitrarily decide is a fairy place, like I do sometimes. I want to start doing that at my house that I live in now. I've been spacing on it. But it's like, I don't know if I'm like, I actually believe fairies are real, but it's more fun to go around thinking that that kind of thing is real.
Yeah, I was gonna
like
ask you. Yeah, I feel it though, because I think there's so many things for me personally that like I don't know if I actually believe in it, like ghosts and stuff, but it's more fun to kind of believe, you know, not like
like
wholeheartedly
astrology,
believe. Yeah,
tarot, ghosts, fairies. It makes the world more exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to believe in magic. I just don't know if I'm like, wholeheartedly believing. But I guess that doesn't matter,
Some
So
would say if you fully believe, then you'll unlock the tricks to real magic, but I don't know how to get.
I don't know how to unlock that part of myself.
I like to read like Wiccan books and stuff sometimes. I'm not fully invested, but
hmm
I dabble.
It's fun to think about. Yeah. I'm more casual. Like, oh yeah, I'll light an incense. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'll do a tarot reading every once in a while.
Yeah. It's fun for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people who take it very seriously, and I totally respect that,
Oh yeah.
but it's very fun for me personally. All right. So that's it for my questions. Do you have anything that you want to talk about outside of this, or do you want to keep chit-chatting about fairies?
I do like fairies. Trying to think if I have anything I need to say specifically. I don't know. I'll say thanks for anybody who listened this far.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, again, thank you everybody who made it this far. I know our last video was like an hour long. That was a lot. But yeah, so I just wanted to thank you, of course, for letting me host your work in our virtual space. And especially thank you for meeting with me today and, talking with me about your work and everything that you'd like to do.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This is really cool.
Yeah, of course.